Your intelligence may be the reason why you're still fat. Hold on, let me explain. You tend to be one of the smartest people in the room, and oftentimes at work or just in general life, others come to you for advice. But somehow when it comes to losing weight and flipping your life around, you struggle, and you've been struggling for a while. Some people months, others years. And what's even more annoying is that you've actually sat down, done the research, you know how to learn, you know how to read articles, you can differentiate bullshit and truth. Funnily enough, you probably know more about nutrition than half the PTs in Anytime Fitness and gym group. And yet, you've done absolutely nothing and you're still unhappy with where you're at. Sometimes it's a little bit more complex than just labeling this as a weakness or laziness. In situations like these, it's in fact your brain working against you. And today, I'm going to explain exactly how and give you the information so hopefully by the end, you can finally fix this once and for all. So what actually is the core issue here? We know you can work hard, you have the grit. The issue here is just thinking clearly, letting go of all emotion and just using logic. Because this is potentially the biggest goal in your life thus far. Plus, it runs very personal. You are likely not being able to use your brain the same way that you have in the past. Simply because this means a lot more to you. Yes, on paper, you're trying to lose about 10-15 kilos, but that's not really why you're trying to do this. You are very aware that this issue runs much deeper than what you're letting on. You want to feel in control again. You want to stop feeling like your life, your body, your health are the one thing that you simply can't figure out. For once, you want proof that you're not someone who just talks, but actually does. So what ends up happening is you fall into these three traps. Trap number one, when you feel stuck, you think the solution to your problem is to just think harder. You sit down, potentially get a pen and paper in front of you, and your brain starts pulling information from everywhere about the core issue that you're trying to resolve. You think, what diet do I follow? Do I go keto? Do I go carnivore? Maybe the Mediterranean, or simply I just eat until I'm 70% full. But that leads to the next question. What macros do I follow? How much fat? How much protein? What are my total calories? But wait, there are different fat sources, and each protein has a different bioavailability. Okay, whatever, let's focus on exercise. Do I lift heavy weights? Do I do calisthenics? Or maybe CrossFit? Should I be doing cardio? What type of cardio should I be running? Stepmaster? Running? Cycling? How many days should I be going to the gym?
How many days should I be doing cardio? How many minutes of cardio should I be doing? What is my split going to be? Okay, anyways, I need to figure out recovery. How many hours of sleep should I be doing? Do I need any sleep supplements? Maybe I need to get massage on. But to recover better, I need to lower my cortisol. How do I actually lower my cortisol? I need to reduce my stress. Maybe journaling, maybe meditating. Taking supplements. I've heard magnesium is good. What type of magnesium has the highest availability? Which brand sells the cleanest magnesium? Do I need protein powder?
And you've just thought harder. Do you feel any closer to the solution? Do you feel any closer to your goal? Is the solution right around the corner? Is there more clarity? No, because you've just entered extreme cognitive overload. Thinking harder about a problem only works when the problem isn't as complex. Of course, many times in your life, you've just been able to brute force a solution to a problem, but that's because there weren't dozens of variables involved affecting one singular problem. When there is this much affecting the one thing you are trying to do, you can't help but feel stuck. Feel like there is no straightforward and obvious way to what you're trying to do. And it starts to feel like instead of making things easier, thinking harder actually complicates things. At this point, we're all guilty of this. We think, let me sleep on it. I'll think about it in the shower, I'll think about it later. And you start thinking about it right before bed, during family time, while you eat, and in no time, the problem has consumed you. You can't get it out of your mind. You're overthinking this, pro max. And all this does is create immense fatigue. And both you and I know, when you are tired, thinking clearly and positively is practically impossible. Your brain cannot handle this much fatigue. So in this situation, what do you actually do? Funnily enough, you think less. In 1974, something called the working memory model was developed. At the time, this expanded on the idea of short-term memory that didn't just hold information, but were able to manipulate it during decision making. In other words, your working memory is a workbench inside your brain that can take multiple variables, use logic, past experiences, educated assumptions, and spit out either a decision, a solution, a step-by-step process that you believe will resolve the issue at hand. The problem here is the working memory is very limited. Remember, it originated from a short-term memory compartment. These can only hold information from 15 to 30 seconds at a time. So by the time that you are done inputting all the information that you just learned about carbs, it's forgotten everything that you've told it about proteins. So what's happening is you're putting all these long, complex, heavy variables in such a tight compartment that can only hold about one or two things. And you're expecting to have the space to manipulate them in such a way to come up with the perfect solution. You are literally short-circuiting your working memory, forcing you to feel overwhelmed and stuck. It's not your brain that's failing you. You are handing it a task that's simply impossible. So what do you do to fix this? Well, logically, if you can't handle the interaction between so many complex variables, you narrow it down and you figure out the interaction only between two. So take A and B. What are you going to do to resolve this? Then take B and C. What are you going to do to resolve this? And you do as many of these as you think it's necessary. Yes, this is going to take more time, but you're actually moving forward with something that you will soon be able to follow, instead of staying stuck for hours, days, weeks, or months. Because what that will end up leading to is, I'll start next Monday. The same excuse you've been telling yourself for probably a few years. And if you know me, you know I'm all about holistic care. And this process seems a little bit reductionist. However, I do believe when we're dealing with life-changing decisions and changing your whole personality and your day-to-day, in order for something to be entirely holistic, you need to be able to take every single factor and reduce it down to its maximum most. So you understand fully how it works and how it interacts with everything else, put everything back together, and now you have your final holistic picture. The harsh truth is, when you start boiling everything down so much, you realize that many of the reasons why you stayed stuck are not even that important. You gave them way too much weight and priority. If you had simply sorted out just some of these variables, many of the others would have fallen into place. Which leads me to trap number 2. Everything feels equally as urgent. You've spent time figuring out all these things. You have a relatively good understanding of how they work. But that's exactly where it all gets worse, because you think that they all have the same priority and everything needs to be done at the exact same time. If my cortisol is high, then I won't be able to sleep as much, so I won't be able to recover as much, so I won't be losing so much weight because I'll be holding to more weight and my hormones are going to be messed up. That means I do need supplements, and I need stress management, and I need to meal prep, but I haven't figured out my macros, all my calories, all my workouts, all my schedule. Suddenly, all the variables are back on the table because of your disordered reasoning. They're all flagged as urgent, all demanding to be solved immediately, and that feeling of overwhelm starts to label itself as a capacity issue. Now you start to think that you're not good enough and your capacity is too low. If other people have figured it out, that means they can handle more stress than you, and you can't figure it out, so you're not as good as them, and it means you are the issue. The truth here is, it's nothing to do with your capacity, and you've done so many things thus far in your life that prove you have the capacity. This is all to do with your ability to rank the importance of complex factors. So here's the solution. On a new piece of paper, lay out all your problems. Look through them very carefully. What is the one problem that, if you had circled out and fully cancelled off that page, would get you the furthest towards your goals? Now, entirely forget about everything else and focus all your efforts into that one problem. That holds the highest importance. And for 99% of you, it's not the supplements, it's not the sleep, it's not the weightlifting, it's the diet. Once you have your main problem, we've said many times, it's very complex. So what do? Break it down again. Figure out which part of your diet is the most important thing that you need to resolve immediately. If you're someone that underconsumes protein, increase your protein intake. If you're someone that overconsumes carbs, reduce your carb intake. If you're someone that's eating crisps every single day, figure out what can you replace them with. Fixing this one thing and not giving a shit about anything else will trigger a domino effect on everything else. If you eat better, you will train better, you will sleep better. Your stress will reduce when you see the results, and your motivation will rise, and you'll be able to push more. Everything is connected. Which leads me to trap number 3. The reason why you never pull the trigger is because you have no margin of error. This here is the real killer, because it has a direct threat to your ego. What is a margin of error? Well, let's imagine this. In clinical drug trials, before a medication gets approved to be given to real patients, researchers define their margin of error, which is basically the amount of uncertainty they are willing to accept in their results before they can approve this medication and give it to real people. The acceptable room for error is between 3 to 5%. So for high-stake clinical trials, where we're talking about a real drug that will be administered to people that probably has side effects, the acceptable margin of error is still not 100%. If doctors were to chase for zero uncertainty and were looking to find the perfect medication with zero margin of error, pharma would have never existed. Now let's take a step back and think about what you are doing. You've read research, you've watched a lot of videos, you've potentially even spoken with a coach, and you know what roughly works. But you still don't start because you're not 100% certain. You're looking for a guarantee that all these things will work exactly and perfectly for your body, your lifestyle, and fit in your schedule before you even commit to a small single change, which means your personal margin of error is 0. You want 100% confidence this will work. This is one of the biggest drawbacks of high achievers, and I'm fully guilty of it myself. We tend to be perfectionists. If you spend so much time and energy thinking about the perfect next step to take, it simply leads to paralysis of analysis. And this is where we're going to have to accept our shortcomings. It will not be 100% perfect, and it will not look exactly how you want it to. But the truth is, nothing in your life ever has. There's always been changes and things that went slightly different to what you expected, and it's completely normal. It's a part of the process. Before, you just had more courage because the things we're talking about didn't mean as much to you as this does. They didn't go as deep. There wasn't this much at stake if you gave up, or giving up wasn't even an option. But now it is. The solution to this trap, as hard as it is to just take a step back, stop overanalyzing everything, and just broaden your scope of results, success, and adaptability. have more gratitude, have more awareness. Increase the factors that determine a win instead of a loss. The fix isn't lowering your standards, it's just changing what you're measuring. Stop measuring perfection against the plan. Start measuring direction. Are you moving? Yes or no? That's it. That's the only thing that matters right now. If you've been eating crisps for the past 5 years every single day, and now you only eat them 3 times a week, that's a huge win. If you haven't stepped foot in the gym for the past 5 years, and now you go 3 times a week, that's a huge win. If this is something that you struggle with, some practical advice I can give you is to simply make a checklist with all the little things that you have to do every single day and keep ticking them off. It is visual evidence that you are moving forward and working towards your goal. If you don't like checklists because they overwhelm you, then journal and reflect at the end of every day. You can do it on your phone, you can do it with pen and paper. Every night before bed, sit down, list 5 wins that you had today. If you can't figure them out first time round, repeat your day again. Then look through it and you're going to find out how many achievements you reach every single day. Appreciate them. You didn't get to the financial, relationship, or corporate position that you're currently in just by waking up. No, you work towards it every single day, step by step. Your weight loss goals need the exact same attention and systems, nothing more and nothing less. Progress doesn't care about perfection, and your body has no idea whether you followed the plan 100% or 80%. Your body simply knows an action versus another action. So I hope this video has helped you realize where you're going wrong and what you need to do in order to think clearer. And if you're watching this and thinking, oh my God, that's literally me, that's not a coincidence. That used to be me. And that's exactly who I built the Evolution Blueprint for. It's not for people that are constantly looking for motivation or the people that don't know what hard work is. It's for those intelligent enough that know something needs to be done, self-aware enough to know that they're stuck, and are so tired of their excuses that they know it's time to get somebody in their corner that knows exactly what they're on about. If that sounds like something that interests you, then the link is in the description. Have a look through. If it doesn't, then farewell. And if it does, you have a 60-day money-back guarantee, so there is nothing to lose. Otherwise, if you enjoyed this video or you found any of it useful, or you think somebody else might find it useful, share it with them. If you think I missed something, drop it down in the comments. The research phase is over, boys and girls. You already know enough. You just need to start. See ya.